And it says we are live. So good afternoon, Facebook. If you guys can hear us, hello, welcome to our stream. It is Tuesday. We're in June. It's June 9th. It's a little after 4 o'clock. So thank you so much for joining us and being here today. If you guys don't know me, my name is Danae Aballi. I'm a real estate agent here in Newport Beach. And today I have my friends and great honor to talk with Kay Walker and Jaril Tudio. They are both also here in Orange County, but as am I. We are all licensed all over the entire state of California. So if you're joining us outside of Orange County, that's okay too. So hello, Jaril. Hello, Kay. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good afternoon. We're good. Thanks.
Right on.
Thanks for having us.
So I invited both Jaril and Kay. They're in completely different fields. I'm in real estate. Jaril's in insurance, and Kay is an attorney who deals with trust. And the reason I invited them onto the show today is because when you're often buying real estate and you're dealing with assets and large purchases and things, these are very good ways to help protect you with your assets. So today's talk is purely educational. There is no sales pitch whatsoever. We just want to give you guys free advice, good advice, to kick off this journey for you. And one thing I've learned with both insurance and trust is that it really is a personalized experience. There's so many layers and levels to customizing it for your personal situation. So today's talk will just be sort of high level to give you guys some overview of things that you should consider when buying real estate, or also if you already own real estate, how you can help protect your assets. So this will be a fun talk. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can just comment right here live, and we will do our best to help you out and answer. So let's get going. So Kay, actually, before we get going, can you ladies just introduce yourself? Tell them, what you do, how long you've been in the business, how many dogs you have, anything you want to share with them. Give them a to you how great you guys are.
Okay, Jaril, go ahead.
I'll start. So I'm Jaril Tudio. Good afternoon to everyone. And thank you, Danae, for inviting us here. This is my 7th year in insurance industry, actually. Been with Spinnaker for a couple of years. We're a boutique wealth management firm, and I am the insurance consultant for the group. I originally came from an agency side of insurance where I could only deal with one company, whereas now I'm a broker, so I have a menu of options for clients. I could shop around in any companies that they prefer that would fit their needs. And I've been in financial industry for about 13 years. Started off as a business banker, and it led me to this path in insurance because my clients were needing it, and it's one of the areas in financial services that is underserved.
Right on.
And Kay and I started working together with certain clients, and some part of our nonprofit that we work with together.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And Kay, how about you?
Well, Danae, once again, yes, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here and to experience this Facebook Live. I have been an attorney. I've lived in Newport for a majority of my life and raised 4 kids there, and they went to Mariners in Incident Harbor. And so now the next step of my life, my next chapter was going to be as an attorney. And I went to law school years and years ago. And so I've been practicing off and on for about the last 26 years, but really had to focus on estate planning for about 5. So I love what I do. I really enjoy helping people create their future plan. And we're going to kind of do the basics today, just overview of estate planning and how it can really benefit everyone, protect their family and their assets as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. If you did not answer the dog question, I will start just so our viewers know important things about it. But I have 3 Chihuahuas. I know Kay has 2 little ones as well. Jaril, how about you? Do you have any pups?
No pets.
No pets. All right, you can borrow
3 kids, so that's enough.
Time.
Exactly.
All right, awesome. So, Kay, if you want to, so basically both of you will get a turn to talk, but Kay, if you want to start, just by random draw, you get to go first. So teach us a little bit about trust. I I know, I know you have a lot prepared, but one thing just right off the bat is we are talking about estate planning. This may sound simple, but I'll just throw this out there. Estate planning does not necessarily mean that you have a big estate. It could be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath cabin in Big Bear. That's still your estate because it is your asset. So other than that, I'm looking forward to being a student and learning from you ladies. So you can tell us whatever you'd like to help us point us in the right direction.
Great. Well, thank you. Your estate is actually any kind of assets that you have, either personal or real, when you pass away. So when you do your estate plan, you are planning not only for now, but all the way through until your death and beyond, because in a trust, you can actually plan for beyond. So we're going to talk about the basics of estate planning. And the first one would be the Advanced Healthcare Directive. And that is a really important document. We're thinking a lot about it right now because of COVID-19, but it gives you the ability to give specific instructions about how you want to be treated when you are unable to speak for yourself. So you choose a trusted individual, whether it be your spouse or your child or a really good friend, somebody that kind of is able to know your philosophy of life and how you think about treatment and life as well. Pain relief is a big one. And then they can talk to your healthcare providers and guide them in how you would want to be treated. You can also designate your primary care physician, if you have one, to be named on there so that they are also included in your treatment. And you can, it's a good place for, well, it's the only place to really kind of talk about any kind of donations that you want. You might be a state donation organ donor, but then in your Advanced Healthcare Directive, you can be more specific. So it allows you to name another individual to be your agent to talk for you. And that person should probably be, able to handle stress and tough decisions. They're looking out for your best interest. And it helps when you have all this written down, because then it eliminates some of that conflict between family members. If, say your daughter and your son don't agree, but there's another person designated, or you have it all written out so that they kind of have to go by what you've requested. So your wishes are carried out by this person that designated. So that's can
I ask you, if you have a spouse, if you're already married, do you still recommend that, or because are they the person that automatically gets that position, or how does that work?
Well, my preference is that you name whoever it is, because then it's perfectly clear. And not all married couples want their spouses to be their agent for healthcare. So if you want your adult child that maybe has medical experience, or they're able to make rational decisions, and that even under the pressure of maybe mom is not feeling well, and there's a possibility that there's going to be something drastic that needs to be happening, then they'll be able to take that pressure and not succumb to the family squabbling or whatever. So it's a really tough position to be in. And anytime you name your agent for healthcare, it's a executor for your will or the trustee for your trust. You really need to find somebody that will be able to stand up to the family and to carry out your wishes, no matter how they feel about it. So that's absolutely a really good question. Thank you for asking that. So some of my clients, I have one client that was married later in life, so not the first marriage, had adult children, and she and her husband, neither one named each other as their Advanced Healthcare Directive agent. So you can understand, because if she were to make a decision for him and his kids didn't agree, then that could really start some some bad conflict between them and hard feelings, and that's just not a good situation. So there's a lot of reasons why you don't have your spouse become your agent, but oftentimes that's the perfect solution, because that's usually the person that knows you the best.
Well, one thing that just popped in my head is sometimes you don't necessarily want to, I don't want to use the word burden your spouse, but maybe you don't want them to have to be the one to make those difficult decisions, but maybe you're, like you said, maybe your daughter or maybe your neighbor is a nurse and would have an easier time doing that, or goes to lunch with you once a week and knows your preferences maybe better than a spouse. So there's some interesting angles there. And I think too, the other thing that popped in my head when you were saying that is like, what's an appropriate age to even start thinking about that? I'm not, 20 anymore, but at 38, I'm like, do I need that? But then like, life happens, things happen. And with COVID around, maybe now's a good time to get those things in gear in advance before it's too late. So I think maybe it's not
never too late.
We should do it now.
Something happens, and then it's kind of too late. So my advice, I mean, even when there's some colleges that are requiring their students, because once your children turn 18, you really don't have any say over, I mean, you can't get their medical records. You can't even get their school records. I mean, if they turn 18 in high school, they sign themselves out at school. You can't get a hold of their grades and, can't talk to their teachers for them. So it makes it a really different world. So I suggest at 18, everybody needs to get an advanced healthcare directive, and then you're really clear on how you want to be treated, and you can change it. You can revoke it as many times as you want. It's not in stone forever. So that's the good thing about all of these documents. You can, as long as you have capacity, you can go ahead and change them and see what different avenues come along in your life, because we never know what's going to happen. Any other questions or thoughts?
No, I think that's one of those documents that people don't often think about, and I'm super glad you brought it up because it is a good tool. And I think the cool thing is too that life is always changing, so perhaps that document needs editing, but that's one thing I know that you do well with your clients is just kind of stay on top of, checking in and making sure that that's still the plan, because things do change. So it's good to hear.
And anytime there's a big change in life, the birth of a child, a marriage, a divorce, then that's a good time to look at all of your documents and make sure that the right people are still in place. Maybe they've passed away, or maybe they're incapacitated. So then you've got, you don't want somebody responsible for you that is unable to perform that job. So it's an ongoing, and oftentimes, once people do their estate plan, they're like, okay, I can put it in the drawer and I'll never open it again. But that's really not the attitude to have, because we have to continually update because things change. You purchase more assets. So we'll talk about the trust in just a little bit, and then it's just a living document. So you just have to keep playing with it and updating it.
Awesome.
So the other thing that one of the others is a durable power of attorney for finances. So just like in the healthcare, if you become incapacitated, you need someone to be able to step in your shoes and take care of your finances. Who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to manage all your financial investments? And so then you would name someone, an attorney in fact, that would be able to make those decisions for you, sign the documents for you. And this document can either be effective at the time that you sign it or after you become incapacitated. And there's guidelines for incapacity, maybe two doctors not related by marriage, or family. Then you put kind of different guidelines in it. And it makes it more yours. So you can make these documents either as broad or as narrow as you'd like. And then other people are able to go ahead and sign, execute these documents. They just have to be noted. This has to be notarized, as well as some of the other documents as well. So you have to prove who you are, and you need to once again, find somebody that's completely trustworthy, that has maybe some good financial skills. They can make some good decisions. They know, again, your philosophies on life and how to do investments and what all you have. So it's a really that's really important, because then you're talking about the financial end of it and who's handling all of your assets while you're possibly just temporarily incapacitated, maybe, or maybe it goes on for the long haul. We just never know what life is going to bring. So the next thing is really important, and that's your last will and testament, and everybody's heard about it, but not everybody has one. So a couple of people that have passed away, you'd be really surprised, that did not have a will, and that was Abraham Lincoln, the great statesman, president of the United States. He died without a will, and his estate was worth a lot for that day and time. And then more recently, Prince passed away, $200 million estate, and he passed away in 2016, and that is still ongoing. So there's still, decisions that the courts have to make about who gets what, and you can imagine what kind of assets he probably had. So it's really a daunting task. And once you get a will, at least you're in charge of saying who you want to carry out your wishes as the executor, and then who will receive the distribution, who the beneficiaries are. So it also names your guardians for your minor children. So the only real advantage there is that you have to be 18 and of sound mind to do a will. And that with a will, though, you get probate. So probate is a court proceeding, and upon your death, then your executor will file your will with the court. So first of all, it's lengthy. It takes 1 to 3 years here in Orange County, and probably now that the courts have been closed down pretty much for a while, it may be even longer than that.
Yeah.
And your estate becomes public record. I mean, when you file something with the courts, it's up for public review. I mean, people can look and see what you have, and it's expensive. So the statutory fees for a probate are 4% for the first $100,000, 3% for the next $100,000, 2% for the next $800,000. So if you have an estate worth $600,000, you're going to be paying $15,000 in fees, which is a lot more than a trust, and the trust is not going to go through probate. So the trust is what a lot of people are talking about now, and it's a great answer to a lot of questions. And it's a living document. So you make it while you're alive. You control your assets all during your lifetime, all the way until your death. And upon your death, you can set up special requirements, like your children, if they're minor children, or even if they're not. Maybe they get half at age 35 and half at age 40, or they have to go through high school and then graduate from college before they get any distribution. So in that case, you can set up guidelines, and then your successor trustee will be the one that carries it out. So they're very flexible. There's all different kinds of trust. Jaril and I in the past have worked with the Center for Autism, and those families require special needs trust oftentimes for their children. There's also charitable remainder trust that gives the person the opportunity to make donations to nonprofits in the future. And there's some tax benefits for that too. But for real estate, the really good one is, and I know you've worked with this, is the step up in value. So that gives you the ability to have assets, like you buy a house. So mom and dad bought a house in Newport back in the 50s for maybe $50,000, right? So now it's worth 500, or maybe it's worth $1 million. So whatever their value is at $50,000, can you imagine the capital gains you'd have to pay to get to that $1 million value? So when they pass away and you inherit through this trust, you get the fair market value at the time of their passing. So you get a huge benefit in that. So that is one of the big benefits for having a trust, especially if you own real estate. So that is kind of my overall view. Do you have any questions?
No, it's just what's interesting is the more you start talking, the more I start thinking about both personal scenario and then other clients I've helped. And there's just so many layers to this. It really seems like you need kind of a really good friend and advisor in this. So certainly drafting the paperwork is one aspect of it, but really there's the whole planning part of it that can make it ultra layers of complexion. I spoke to a potential seller a couple of weeks ago, and the poor thing, she's an older lady and she lost her husband. There was no will or trust, and she is fighting with nieces, nephews, stepkids, other kids. I mean, everybody is involved. And in the meantime, it's a 2-story house with her bedroom on the 2nd story. And she wants to sell it so that she can downsize. And the poor thing is tied up in legal stuff. And like you said, it's already a super long process. But specifically with COVID, she just said, you could try me back in 6 months to a year. She really didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel in the meantime. And she had no way of renting something else, and it just, how sad, so I think planning is never fun. The free spirits in all of us just want to deal with it later, but I would just really advise later is not a good plan. It's not a good strategy. So now is the time to review it, even if you make changes. So
absolutely. And you really don't know. I mean, who would have predicted on January 1st that in the middle of March, we would all be shut down in our homes and this pandemic would be upon us. So, and then, the hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds, the thousands of people that have, been in serious condition, and then some of them passed away. So that wasn't on their radar possibly either. And I don't think we ever really think that we're going to pass away, but we know that we are at some point. So we just need to be prepared. And the more prepared you are, I think that gives you and your family, you can have the conversation about, what your wishes are, and make sure that everybody's on the same page, so that when something does happen, that everyone will know how you feel and be able to carry those wishes out more effectively.
Well, it's kind of, it's not if something happens, it's when, right? So we all have to get prepared. So sometimes an uncomfortable conversation or topic, but I think it's got to be done. It's best for everybody.
Yeah.
Jaril, I have your mic muted, but I'm going to unmute you in case you have anything else to add. I know you deal with a lot of clients and see a lot of these issues as well. Anything else you want to add about trust or anything that Kay said?
Well, I mean, we see it every day, right? It's not if we die, it's when we die, and people never really plan for anything. And especially in our times now, there's, families, blended families, that's an issue, right? And if you're purchasing something, if you're single and you co-sign for, you joined in a property with a past boyfriend or girlfriend or business partner, you purchase a property, it's going to be difficult. And so you always have to think about those kind of scenarios. And unfortunately, people usually come up to us when it's there's already a situation. It's not the plan.
Interesting.
Well, I wanted to add that, so Kay and I work together with a few presentations, because in my industry, when you're planning for the, unfortunate event that will happen, usually we want to make sure that we have our wishes known, right? So in my industry, we're a wealth management company, right? And I handle the insurance part. I was really excited to be part of this group because I wanted to speak with as many realtors as possible. Because when they purchase a property, you have to think about this. When the down payment money that they took from their savings to purchase this house, this is their savings account that they plan for. Maybe this is something that they only have saved in their entire life. Maybe it's part of their retirement plan. It's part of their, cash value or their savings account. It needs to be protected. It's almost like a moral obligation at this point. So once you hand keys to that client that purchased the property, the worst thing that could happen is the breadwinner, something happens to that breadwinner, and that family needs to be uprooted again because they need to sell the house because the earner did not plan for his demise, right? So we wanted to make sure that when you're talking to a person who's planning on purchasing a property, they want to make sure they protect that asset, they protect their family, their loved ones, because when the sad part is when the main breadwinner pass away in a situation where they have a home, the child or whoever is left behind not only loses their father or mother, they lose their friends because if they can't keep the house, they will have to sell it, right? So now they're losing their friends in their school. They have to change. They have to, the surviving parent now needs to probably get 2 jobs just to sustain their lifestyle. And I always talk to people where they have insurance on their cell phones, unfortunately, and their gadgets, right? They put in, obviously we have car insurance, but the one asset that we really need to protect is our ability to make money, which is our human capital value. We need to make sure that when you're looking into life insurance, you factor in. I almost try to say, sit down, make a budget, write down all the things you want to keep if you were to die. How much is the balance of your mortgage? Where do you want, what do you want to happen with this? Let's say, for example, 1 million. You want to pay the mortgage balance, okay? Put some funds for the college education. Put some budget for unfortunately, your final expense, right? Your funeral cost, and also put some planning on your immediate expenses, such as 6 months worth of rent if you were to die or maybe disabled, right? Or not just that, or your mortgage, right? So those are the things that I like sitting down. So this is like the 3 of us could be educating some of our clients that we could be sharing, right?
Okay.
The buyers or some of the homeowners.
Yeah, I love it. It really is one of those scenarios that nobody ever plans for these things to happen. But being an agent, I have seen that scenario, unfortunately, before as well, where also we didn't talk about this, but I know you're kind of specifically referencing life insurance, but disability insurance is a big one too. So I don't know if you cover that or deal with that, but I find I've had scenarios where maybe maybe you are a real estate agent and now you can't go show homes anymore because you had an accident or something. So I think disability insurance is a big one too. But we work so hard in life, right? And we save and save and save like little squirrels, and then one little thing goes wrong, the tire pops and the car, and there's just all these different factors that can happen, and then it just derails everything. So insurance can really help you that you work so hard that you retain what you built up.
Right.
So yeah,
there's actually 3 scenarios.
Important ones. Yeah.
3 scenarios in insurance. You actually you are self-insured. You could use life insurance in a sense where it pays for your estate taxes. Number 1, because insurance check is the first check you get immediately while you're debating with your estate, right? They're going through probate, they're doing something else, they're fighting over the estate. The life insurance check is the first check that comes in, and it will help pay for your final costs or your estate taxes. The second use for life insurance, I always talk about when we're sitting down with a client who's doing financial planning, they always plan about their retirement planning, which is great. Unfortunately, if you become disabled, your company does not love you enough to continue contributing to your retirement plan, right? So you want to make sure you allocate some portion, number 1, in the foundation, which is the life insurance, and your other insurance, your disability or long-term care. Another scenario right now is the long-term care plan. We have people who have planned so much in their retirement. Unfortunately, they have long-term care event where they've been hurt for a long time and they need care. And it's costing them, it's not covered by your health insurance to pay for your caregiver to come into your house. So we always say, if you can't function out of the 6 activities of daily living, right? Bathing, eating. If someone needs to come in to take care of you, because unfortunately it happens to us when we're a little bit older, our kids are out in school already, or I'm sorry, they're working. You're not going to request your children to come back home and stop working. They probably have their own family already. So that's where you see a lot of, they call it the epidemic in America prior to the pandemic, obviously, right? Because people have saved up, but you look at the retirement homes, they run out of retirement funds and now they're needing money to pay for their care. And their children are now having to pay for that care, unfortunately. They're 80s or 90s. They didn't plan that they're going to live that long. Modern medicine is allowing us right now to live longer. Doesn't mean we're healthy. We're living, but we need all this medication. We need a caregiver or caretaker, right? So yeah, you're right. And I always talk about disability insurance as well, because if you're a business owner, like the three of us are business owners, right? If,
100%.
If we cannot go out there and we have some employees, or even just we're self-employed and we're individual contractors, if we can't go out there and work, our income will stop immediately. And no one will pay for our other expenses. So I have business owners, small business owners like dentists, doctors, attorneys, CPAs. They want to continue working, but if something happened to them, then their disability insurance will kick in to help pay for to keep the office, to pay for the employees in the office, things like that.
So can I ask you too, though? So since we're in the COVID environment that we're in, are you still able to even buy these products right now?
Yes. There's a good and bad thing that happened during COVID. A lot of the insurance carriers, they ramped up their electronic application. It used to be, it's such an old transaction where you have to send your wet signature. It has to be a one-on-one application. Application so thick that you need to fill out by hand, right? But a lot of companies have stepped up their game in there, and that they have express application online. You could do your medical questions over the phone, provided that you're the one answering it, not the agent or not the broker. And we request for medical. The only thing is we need help in getting the medical records from your doctor. So we need the attending physician statement. And then we pull your DMV records, right, to assess the risk and what your rating would be. Now, the unfortunate side of the COVID, what have happened was that 70-year-old and above applicants are having a tougher time on underwriting because now a lot of insurance company, they wanted to make sure they do the express application on younger candidates. But when you're 60 and then 70 years old, they completely stop doing underwriting on some of them.
Got it. Well, that just goes back to square one at the beginning. It's time to plan now. So don't wait till it gets too late, and then it gets harder and harder. And that goes for all the things we talked about today. Yeah. So,
and then a lot of people always say, well, I don't have any money right now, or I have certain situations right now. My kids are young. I always say it's better to have a plan, even if it's a small plan, even if it's the cheapest plan, than no plan at all, right? The time is always now. And then we could always upgrade later on because we review our clients' needs periodically. It could be semi-annually, it could be yearly, or just like what Kay said, anytime you have a life event, divorce, new baby, new job, right? You purchase a new home, you retired, you inherited funds. So
new chihuahua, whatever the scenario is.
buying your rental property, your investment property, right? Or upgrading to a bigger house. And we always do a review.
Yeah, I love it. We are, of course, broadcasting live. So if you are live, you can comment in. If you are watching the replay, this will be on YouTube and also on Facebook. Feel free to reach out to any of the three of us. The reason I had these ladies on is they are exactly like me in that we are true consultants. There are many, many times I help people and don't get a penny for it, and that's okay with me. And I think they're the same way. Sometimes it's as simple as if somebody asks you later down the road, like, hey, do you know that Danae Realtor? And you say, yeah, she actually really helped me. That's all I want from you guys. So feel free, genuinely use us as a resource. If we can help you with your scenario, we'd be happy to extend that opportunity to all of you. I've put here on the banner, you can see Jaril. This is her Facebook business page. From there, you can see her phone number. You can find her website. You can DM her, reach out any way you'd like. And I will share one more time Kay's info. She's at K Walker Law. And lastly is myself. I'm at the Danae Aballi team. So we thank you guys so much for joining us, broadcasting, and also viewers at home watching us. And any final words before we jump off the line?
Thank you so much for including us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for all your knowledge.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys later.
Thank
Bye.
Bye-bye.